This is a dangerous groups that we're dealing with now. It was a nightmare.
Flight 807, you're clear for landing. Runway 7, Bravo. All personnel report to the nearest tornado shelter. This is not a drill.
If you need help, then dial your operator.
Have no fear, fellow citizens. The Mediator is here.
Good morning and welcome to this week's edition of The Mediator with me, your host, Brian West, here to give you the top 8 headlines and developing news stories that made it this week. Now, as usual, I'll give you the top 8 local headlines and developing news stories that made it first, followed by a movie clip, a skit, a trailer, or something that's going on in the community, or maybe some pictures. And then I'll give you the top 8 international headlines and developing news stories that made it in, folks. So let's waste no time. Woo! Yeah, let's get to it. Story number 1, the ambulance subsidy. Discussions on an ambulance subsidy remains in the headlines. At the moment, council members oppose the subsidy. The local article also points out that AMR Ambulance is losing money, in which 54% of their funds comes from Medicaid reimbursements. Now, if they do decide to subsidize the service, it would come out of the American Rescue Plan funds. This story is still developing. Big headline. Story number 2. More members added to the firefighting force. Youngstown added 6 firefighters to their firefighting ranks. Derek Thomas of Youngstown, Shane Guerreri of Struthers, Jackson Lambert of Mineral Ridge, Madison Kelly of Louisville, and Ian Murphy of Youngstown, and Luke Adkins of Green. These new hires are just a step closer to the department reaching its goal of adding 4 more by the year's end, according to Fire Chief Barry Finley. Now, this story goes on to expand on what adding on the firefighting force means, and that means safety and the future of local fire safety. That's why story number 2 is so big. Adding a little bit of fuel to fight the flames, baby. Whew, yeah, that's good news. Story number 3. The governor has been bit by the COVID-19 bug. So what now? After going through extreme measures to stop the spread of COVID-19, 75-year-old Governor Mike DeWine somehow came down with the bug, while everyone around him seems to be fine. Now, DeWine is up for re-election, with many approving of the job that he has done so far. Now, to maintain Ohio's solid foundation. So far they think that he's done a good job at maintaining that foundation. Now, the biggest obstacle that the governor faces is his re-election bid is how he has handled COVID-19 and how the state has recovered since somewhat getting back to normal. So Governor DeWine will be front and center when people assess how he has handled COVID-19, and that will be his biggest problem. That's why story number 3 made it this week. Big hit. Story number 4. What is the redistricting fight about? The Reverend Kenneth L. Simon is leading a coalition of community activists in a redistricting fight. Now, the fight and lawsuits being filed are based on the Voting Rights Act. It's clear that Reverend Simon feels that he is in a fight for the minority vote. So he's fighting for the minority vote, for minorities to keep voting fairly. Now, this report follows a pattern of other stories emerging about what many feel is an attack on minorities and the black vote. I don't know how true that is, but it's been in the headlines. Now, the details in this story have everything to do with the Ohio Republican wave and what many feel is not fair when it comes to gerrymandering, or gerrymandering if you want to be exact, prevention. So all that gerrymandering and gerrymandering prevention, if you want to be exact, I think the man's name was Jerry. Now, minority leaders who have been in the back and forth voting battles for years just want a voice in this fight. That's what it seems like, minority leaders. Now, the most important thing coming out of this local story is how it's waking people up about the the power of voting and fair elections. That's why story number 4 made it this week. Story number 5. Mahoning County has bad health. That's not good. Valley officials are coming in on an unhealthy, well, they're homing in, putting a target on an unhealthy valley. Educating local residents is just half of that battle. Now, Mahoning County ranks 71 among Ohio's 88 counties in the 2020 health ranking report. Now, one local Vindicator article introducing a community health improvement plan as a solution to the problem may be what people need. Now, mental health and substance abuse were both mentioned in the article. That's why story number 5 made it in this week. Big hell. Story number 6. Spreading around the government aid money. Yeah, give me some of the money. With COVID-19 still lingering around, folks, now may be a good time to assess how effective government aid programs have been helping out people to recover financially, especially businesses, local governments, all that stuff. Now, so much government aid money has been spread around that financial directors at the moment are comfortably in the black. But there is a but. With so much inflation, many are now back at the drawing board. The key local details in this story is how will we be able to account for all this spending, and how will we be able to remain financially stable with things still a bit off balance because of COVID-19. That's why story number 6 almost made it to the top 2. This story is this week. Big headline, local story. Story number 7 in the top 2. Local headlines and developing news stories that made it this week. I've got a story for you. Woo! Take your clothes off. Story number 7. Youth front and center. The youth of local Ohio of Youngstown, the Mahoning Valley. Valley parents and youth activists are hoping that the next generation will be able to keep up, folks. Some parents are citing suicide rates and burnout as a top concern, a key concern. Local youth are well cared for by state programs, but the stats are showing that a lot of kids are still being left behind, and analysts still want to know why. Juveniles have been in a lot of headlines lately. Some have even been in gun stories, drug stories, rape stories, dropping out of school, and some have even been in headlines for running away from home. Now, there is so much pressure on youth these days to meet the standards that many can't seem to keep up, and that's what got this story in. Story number 7 almost made it to the top. Looking out for the youth. This is big because it's the future, and right now they're having some issues. That's why story number 7 made it this week, especially when it comes to crime. Big headline. Story number 8 in the top local headline and developing news story that made it this week. I made these stories. I got up, put my suit on, got my tie, got ready, got up this morning to give you a top story, and I'm dedicated, baby. I am motivated to do it. And nobody's going to stop me right now because this story is for you, baby. Story number 8. It's shooting season. Youngstown on crime alert again. That means this has been happening quite a bit. 2 houses in Youngstown reported being shot at. A woman says she was in bed at around 1:14 a.m. What you doing up that early? When a person dialed 911 because of gunfire in the 2000 block of South Heights Avenue on the south side. How bad is that? The article goes on to say that the person was in bed before she called and reported hearing 30 to 40 gunshots outside of her home. Oh my God, where are they getting the ammunition? The shots hit a car and a nearby house. Go to school, get an education. Why are you shooting? Ah, that's bad. Now, after that fact, another call came in reporting shots being fired at the 800 block of Avondale about a house being shot up. So another call came in about a house being shot up. Now, another report later came in at 8:41 a.m. because a man reported hearing gunshots at about 2 a.m. The shots were fired at the 600 block of East Indianola. Then on Sunday, another report was filed about gunfire hitting homes and cars on Cameron Avenue at about 2 a.m. The final report of gunfire was filed about shots being heard on McGuffey Road on the city's east side. Wow. Listen, Youngstown once again is on crime alert. Several other shootings in multiple areas were also reported. What is wrong with Youngstown and what is right? Those are the top questions circulating. That's why Stern and Brady made it to the top this week, folks. Well, folks, those are our top 8 local headlines and developing news stories that made this week. I'll be right back with the top 8 international headlines and developing news stories. So don't go anywhere. You're in the media with me, Brian West, folks. Please use your guns responsibly. I'll be right back.
Tune in and don't forget to subscribe to Method 8 Inc. YouTube channel. You can also watch free public entertainment. And don't forget to show some support by visiting www.method8inc.com by buying something, clicking something, watching something, or just reading something. You can also sponsor a program as well. That's www.method8inc.com. Buy stuff, watch stuff, or read stuff.
What does Method8inc.com Media Center have that I need?
Small prints, event consulting, photography, business consulting, technical consulting, entertainment consulting, fundraising advice, event videography, movies, news, publishing, media, books, entertainment, acting, broadcasting, public relations, access to the visual and performing arts, ink and black ink refills, audio recording, graphic design, theater, minor computer and cell phone repair, and they're located at 5648 Market Street in Boardman, Ohio from 10 a.m. until 6 p.m. every Monday through Friday. The list goes on and on.
Method8inc.com. Buy stuff, watch stuff, or read stuff.
Oh yeah! And yes, we are chipmunks.
We are way out of our league on this one. We are not supposed to be in this deep. We're into some kind of science fiction stuff here. The Field Angels is an investigative unit for youth.
The last thing I heard him talk about was a nucleus or something.
The nucleus is the biggest conspiracy in the field that came out.
Is it real?
7 years ago, you wanted to be a superhero, and you wanted little kids to be your superhero project.
Kid, get down on the ground now. What are you doing? Put your hands up. Hands up. Get down.
I thought I told you the kid was dead.
When was the last time you had a vacation?
I'm fine. Whoever is controlling this nucleus has found a way to move matter with photon particles.
You mean like a spark?
You apply it to the light, the photon particles, it attracts.
If anything happens to one of these girls, surely they will shut us down.
We lose it right now. Big.
You have 24 hours to get back here with that other field angel, or don't bother, because nobody here will have a job.
I have practiced science my entire adult life, Mr. Daniels. That statement you just made makes you sound like an idiot.
Treated? Somebody want to tell me what's going on?
You know what I hate most of all? An undisciplined child.
Welcome back. Now it's time to get to the top 8 international headlines and developing news stories that made it this week. Folks, if you did not know, Russia has a bomb named Satan. And if you thought that was crazy, they plan on using these bombs, blowing things up. I took a step back, folks, and had to reflect on why people are so angry these days. We have everything we want, everything we need, and people are still trying to engage and solidify their spot as the person who causes a lot of problems. Well, folks, I've got an introduction for you. I'm going to be the problem solver, and I'm going to sing my problem-solving song. Here it is. Russia's got a bomb named Satan, but deep down in my soul, I've got a bomb full of love. Woo! Love and peace to clear out the bomb named Satan. Do Do you see how the peace is flowing through the atmosphere? I'm charging the atmosphere with peace, baby. Because bombs don't do anything but blow things up, folks. So let's get all of the mediaites out there and stop this madness. We've got to fight for peace, fight for stability, and fight to stop the bloodshed, folks. And everywhere. That's why mediation is so important, folks. I sung that song just for you. Let's get to it! Story number 1. I feel so tingly inside. Something is happening. Israel is once again sounding the war drum. Oh, that's not good. War. Frightening. Israel missile strikes at Hamas targets now have the Middle East back in the headlines. This talk of war is scary me. Israel made quite a few headlines, folks, recently because of the ongoing problems over the Gaza Strip. The key to understanding this story lies in what people from the two regions are saying and what they're talking about. Palestinians have their concerns, and the Israeli people have also have their conflicting views on the whole situation. Now, there have been constant attempts for mediation in these two regions to get each side to come to a peaceful solution. Either way, this story is staying alive. And the one thing about war is that once you start getting interior, you start understanding why people are fighting, it gets worse. But and that's why these stories continue to make news. But when you've got a bomb named Satan, I don't see anything good coming out of that. That's why story number 1 made it this week. Russia's got a bomb named Satan. That's scary. Story number 2. Death and suicide rates are in. In 1 week, 3 U.S. sailors from the USS George Washington aircraft carrier have been found dead, according to a CNN politics report. Parents are also complaining about the suicide rates of their teenagers. That's not good. The military has also been on constant alert when it comes to mental health. Such stories remain in the headlines. Some parents are pointing the finger at social media and the new cultural shifts towards a darker society. These two factors are what got this story in. And when people are running around with a bomb named Satan, folks, that's not good. I have to keep pointing that out because that is not good. We've got to come up with a bomb of love and peace and joy. Story number 2, that's why I made it this week. Story number 3. What is causing the spike in black deaths? Oh boy, death is in the news a lot. And we are people who live in this lovely world. It's clear that Black America is fighting for a culture shift, and many are tired of the current everyday conditions that continue to plague the African American community. And everybody knows what that is. Now, death has been no friend to the inner city people, but minorities are feeling it full scale. And many are now saying that the defund the police movement has made it worse. Now, the topic at hand is death, fear, and living conditions. Black America is screaming for an end to something that is plaguing at the heart of a matter that has been rooted in what seems to be an unbreakable and hopeless cycle. It's an issue. Now, murders across the U.S. have spiked by 30%, causing Black America to hit a lot of mainstream headlines, and a lot of voices are being heard in this fight. That means blacks are killing blacks, and other people are killing blacks. But the Black America's problem goes a long way back, and it has a lot to do with history, a history rooted in slavery. And a lot of Black Americans, including some of my own family members, have never, even myself, have never ever been able to recover. But we're grateful and thankful that we live in a day and age where people are still acknowledging the fact that this problem exists. But all Americans are taking notice, and some people make it out of the hood, and folks, a lot of people do not, and that's why story number 3 is such a big headline. Story number 4. An Easter weekend filled with murder. Violent crime was the main topic of discussion Easter weekend as violent crime stories continue to hit the U.S. hard. Mass shooting stories broke out in Chicago, Baltimore, and Pittsburgh. Once again, America sees death in the news, and many feel that the only solution is is life. That means life. Hugs, kisses, all that stuff. Love, all that stuff that comes along with things that deal with life. The focus now is on enhancing and enriching the lives of those doing good, and eventually sudden death will cease. That means the goal is always to live a long life full of wisdom, joy, and good friends. That should be the goal. The story is still progressing because women are getting very, very afraid to allow their children and their loved ones to go out in the middle of the night. That's why story number 4 is such a big, big headline, folks. Well, those are our top 4 international headlines and developing news stories that made it this week. I'll be right back with the top 4, so don't you go anywhere. You're the Mediator, me, Brian West. I'll be right back. If you want to check out the stories that almost made it in or did make it in, go to our Twitter feed on our website. Check out everything. All of the sources are there. And go to the website. It's method8inc.com. Welcome back. Welcome back. Now it's time to get to the top 4 international headlines and developing news stories that made it this week, folks. I had to go see the doctor. Even superheroes got to go see the doctor. And we were talking about how to get healthy, and some people are just getting fat and lazy and depressed and doing all types of crazy things. But I also got to figure out about this thing they're talking about when you're getting prepared for death, because death is constantly in the news, and getting a will and loved ones and all that stuff. And I looked at the doc and I said, man, this life, you got to do a lot of paperwork. A lot of planning. You got to plan for your death. You got to have a life insurance policy. You got to make sure you have a retirement plan. And these are all the things that add up to what people call a stable and stable living conditions. And they're saying that a lot of people in the world, and not even just America, but the world, have a low financial literacy IQ and understanding of how finances work, interest rates, and all this stuff is balled up into being informed. So when the doc came in, and he came in to take my blood pressure, and we started talking. I said, man, I'm going to try to stay healthy, doc, but I got a lot of things to do when I leave out of here, So when he looked at me, he got upset. I said, why are you saying? He said, Brian, because you're staying healthy. You got to help me pay the bills. You got to go out and do something wrong. And I said, no, doc, I'm going to do something right. I'm going to get that life insurance policy. I'm going to start making sense of my life. And he looked at me and said, how am I going to pay my bills? I got to get you medication. You got to do something wrong, Brian. But after that day, I left the doctor's office, and I vowed that doctor would be the person that I'm going to show. I'm going to try to put out of business by doing what's right. That means we're all doing something wrong, folks. And the doctor is waiting. And the coroner's office is too, folks. Well, that's our story for today. It's time to get to the top 4, baby. Ooh, yeah. Doctor's love is special, but health will make the doctor go away. Ooh, yeah. Let's get to it. Story number 5. Migrants, refugees, and Ukraine. All eyes are on the Russia-Ukraine war because migration is at the heart of surrounding nations already struggling to manage their own people. This story homes in on the heart of what is taking place in the global market. People are fleeing to find help, but how do you find help when resources are slim? Humanitarian aid workers are what got this story in, and what has this story still trending. That's why story number 5 made it this week. Story number 6. Border Patrol keeps sounding the alarm. A 4-year-old boy, along with other illegal immigrants, are suspected of smuggling marijuana into the United States. This is not uncommon in border cases, but what got the story in is consistency. That means these stories are staying alive. Border stories are staying in the headlines and don't seem to be getting any better. Now, last week there was a reported 1 million encounters, and no one knows who or what is being slipped in unnoticed. So that means who or what. That's big. Now, as the world gets worse, migration stories will continue to remain in the headlines. That's story number 6. Almost made it to the top 2 this week. Big headline. Story number number 7 in the top 2 international headlines and developing news stories that made it this week to keep you informed, baby. That's what you got to do. You got to get up every morning and you got to stay informed. God bless you. Story number 7. Inflation is causing a lot of problems, folks. High cost means less money to spend on other things, and America is taking notice of inflation. This number 1 issue could cost Democrats at the polls. Now, as we get close and close to another election season, now food pantries have been shaken up, and families who were already struggling could now be at rock bottom. They now could be just emptied out. Now, eviction notices and the job market that is thirsting for good workers are all balled up in this one story because people are pointing out their frustrations and they're taking it to the mainstream. They're pointing out their frustration with the current cost of living. Who wants to live in an expensive world? The cost to feed a family of 5 has ballooned, and travel costs have also ballooned, making it no better. Thus, making this story wanted to watch out for, because this cannot keep up, folks. We can't sustain the price of things going up too high because we don't have enough money. Story number 7, that's why I made it this week. Big headline. Story number 8, and the top international headline and developing news story that made it this week for you, to keep you informed. Yeah. Story number 8. Putin's war is costing a lot of money and causing a lot of death. The war atrocities are mounting in the Ukraine and Russia war. The brutality and carnage now have Putin potentially being convicted of war crimes. Now, the other end is cost. War is expensive, and this war has some economies on the verge of collapsing. Death and migration is also a factor because Ukrainian children are being separated from loved ones, and some are even dying in this brutal battle. More than 900 civilian bodies have been found in Kyiv, and more than $3 billion have been spent in U.S. military aid money. The IMF says that Russia's war in Ukraine will severely set back the global economy. It is clear that Putin's war is draining the life out of everyone involved. Why choose war? People are still questioning. And we just probably need more leaders with compassion and empathy and enough intellect to see that war causes a lot of problems and it causes a lot of global conflicts. But at the end of the day, we must rise up and find a reason to live this life and move forward and try to do something better. War does one thing, and it reminds us that it is bad. And how to overcome it? We have to overcome it with our own mind. We have power within ourselves to fight against the war machine, folks. Well, those are our top 8 local and international headlines and developing news stories that I made this week. I hope you got something out of today's program. I always get something out of doing the research. As usual, I like to thank all the news outlets, the journalists, the people on the front lines of media, the people who give me the stories to report. You deserve all the credit. I'm just the mediator, the man in the middle. If you want to show us some support here at Method 8, all you have to do is visit the website on the screen, buy something, click on something, watch something, read something, or to sponsor a program, or you can stop by our lovely store at 5648 Market Street and purchase something or do something. Give me a hug. Well, folks, it doesn't take much. Well, folks, I'll be back next week looking through over 200 or more stories just for you to keep you informed. Have a good week, everybody. Thank you for tuning to the meeting this week with me, Brian West. Peace.
If you need help, then dial your operator.
Have no fear, fellow citizens. The mediator is here.